Hey everyone, welcome back to the ATD Movie Channel. I'm Tony, and today I'll be reviewing Game Night, the latest comedy starring Jason Bateman. Let's jump right into it. So Game Night is this unique genre of adult comedies that we don't see anymore. It's not necessarily a raunchy comedy like Superbad or some of those other movies, but it's got intelligent adult humor in it. And again, it stars Jason Bateman and Rachel McAdams as a couple that hosts Game Night. They do it every week, and it includes 3 couples. Well, this time around, Jason Bateman's brother, played by Kyle Chandler, is coming to visit, and things get flipped upside down. Kyle Chandler's character has challenged the couples to a unique game night where someone's going to get kidnapped, and the first person to find them wins the prize. And that's really all we know. And then obviously chaos ensues. So there's a lot of stuff I liked about this movie, but what is undeniable is the talent involved. Jason Bateman has been making comedies since he was a teenager almost 30 years ago, and it doesn't stop here. He's fantastic. And so is Rachel McAdams. They have this undeniable chemistry together that you could believe they're a real couple, other than kind of knowing how far apart they are in age. But you look past that when you see the two of them on screen. Their comedic timing is impeccable, and I felt like that led to some realism in the relationship. And they also have complementary styles, not just in the way that they tell a joke, but in their speech and in the way that they use their physical comedy to deliver the jokes. And I think that that's critical when you're talking about a complementary style of 2 different actors like that. The two feel very much like they're in a tennis match of comedy, and there's one scene in particular, it's kind of a rerunning gag that we've seen in older movies, but they are both trying to avoid throwing up, and just the sight and the sounds of hearing each other gagging and almost throwing up is making the other person want to throw up. And I was rolling over laughing. It was just so funny and unique and authentic, and I really, really liked it. Now, Bateman and McAdams are obviously the stars of the film, but Kyle Chandler does a really good job in this movie as Jason Bateman's brother. He's sort of like this slick, fast-talking, Wall Street kind of guy, and while you should hate him, you don't. You genuinely like this character. And I always compliment actors that are able to pull that off. This sleazy sort of character that you just can't help but fall in love with. And he does that here. He's really, really good in this movie, despite not being the spotlight or anything like that. So there's 2 other couples in the movie, and one couple is played by Billy Magnuson and Sharon Horgan, and they're fantastic. So the Magnuson character usually invites sort of just like bimbo blondes to game night. Every week there's a different woman, no one that ever challenges him, but then he finds this older woman at work played by Sharon Horgan, and she is challenging his intelligence and questioning why he does the things that he does. But at the same time, instead of it being these 2 characters just constantly going at it, it's fun, and they're throwing one-liners at each other back and forth. So it's not going to be boring to watch these 2 argue, because it's done in a very funny way that makes you want to see more. And the third couple is played by Lamorne Morris and Kylie Bunbury, and they're great. So the 2 characters are middle school sweethearts who grew up together. They ended up marrying each other. And there's this shtick that's played throughout the movie where the Bunbury character cheated on her husband, but it was during a separation. And throughout the entire movie, it's this rerunning gag where they're trying to figure out who she cheated with, because she claims that it's a celebrity. And it's so easy to dive off into a different path with something like that, but the movie finds a way to make it funny and not escape the overall plot and story of the entire movie. It's so good, you guys. It's really, really creatively and well done. And lastly, from Breaking Bad fame, Jesse Plemons plays the next door neighbor. He's a police officer and someone who used to hang out with all the couples for game night, but after he divorced his wife, he kind of went his separate way, and he plays sort of a really creepy guy, but they make him intriguing enough that you want to learn more about him. He's creepy, and you find that out from the first time he's introduced on screen. But again, the writers and director find a way to make him interesting and want us to learn more about him. And the last thing I'll say about the cast is that they all together, all of them, have undeniable chemistry together. I think that there is this intangible thing that actors, good actors, have where they can bounce comedy off of each other and use each other's skills to make each other funnier, and this entire cast just works and gels so well together. You would think that these 6 people are all friends in real life, and I don't know if they are or not, but it's just really good casting, and I think it worked perfectly. So another aspect of the movie that I really liked is obviously the comedy, because there's different types of comedy in this movie, and I think it all works. There's conversational comedy where you hear somebody say something that you can relate to. There's one-liners and zingers, and there's physical comedy, and I think it all meshed really well. You don't have so much physical comedy that it's over the top and we can't relate to it, but you also don't have just dialogue comedy where it's quick and witty and then it runs its course by the end of the movie. The movie finds a way to keep the comedy coming at you fast and furious, but it's fresh and new with every joke that's told, and I really like that. So you'll hear me talk about editing and pacing on this channel a lot because I think it's a critical part of the filmmaking process. The editing and the pacing in this movie is fantastic. There's 3 different couples all working separately to find the kidnapped brother. And I think that the movie does a great job of keeping everybody interesting, giving them all ample screen time so that we get to like them and care about what happens to them more and more without ever losing track of the plot and what's going on overall. And I think that that's a great thing that this movie did, was find a way to tell a cohesive story but still give each of the couples their time to shine. And the last thing I want to praise this movie for is the camera work. How rare do you ever hear about great camera work in a comedy? Well, this movie does it. There's one scene in particular that takes place in a mansion, and it's what looks to be like one cut of this action sequence that takes place on multiple levels throughout the mansion. And it's just one example of the great camera work that overall tells the story. I think that's critical, that the camera work is not trying to be elaborate just for the sake of being elaborate. It's helping to tell the story, and in some cases it helps with the comedy as well. Hard to explain without watching the movie, but if you do watch it, check it out and you'll see what I mean. So if you can't tell already, I really enjoyed the movie, and I only have one small minor pet peeve about it. For 90% of the film, you're able to suspend your disbelief and just go along with this crazy, ridiculous plot. It's not until the last 10% where it kind of jumps the shark. And it jumps the shark, and they even say that in the movie, the characters talking to each other about the theatrics behind the game within the movie. So it's okay. It's a small pet peeve. They had my attention till about 90% of the movie was done, and then that last 10%, which some of it is in the trailer, so I'm really not spoiling anything, but it just gets so exaggerated that you roll your eyes once or twice. And even without liking the exaggerated final few minutes of the movie, I still thought this was a charming movie with some great characters and some amazing comedy, both believable and relatable. At the same time, it was absurd and outlandish, and I loved all of it. So, have you seen Game Night? Are you a big fan of Jason Bateman like I am? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the review, give me a thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be notified of content uploaded regularly. You can find other movie reviews on the channel as well. Thanks for watching my review to Game Night. I'll talk to you soon.